So I printed something like 20 Keanu Reeves heads, and now my marriage is in shambles. Why did I do that? I don't know. Also, there's a Keanu vase or something. Like and subscribe. Thank you. I came across 3doptimizer.com. It's a service that lets you run a few tests with varying settings during each test that ultimately should help you improve the quality of your 3D prints. After you're done setting up a quick profile of your printer, you can run a few tests for free in the trial mode. The service works by creating a custom G-code with a range of settings to find the perfect print quality. For example, there is a test for the first layer. You can input a range of layer heights, say from 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters, and a range of print speeds. The test will then print each layer height at each speed, and you can choose which combination looks the best. There are quite a few bugs that I noticed though. Retraction distance, for example, was initialized to previous tests' temperature values, and it wouldn't let me enter anything other than 20 millimeters. I didn't have any problems with my previous test session though. After completing all of the tests, you can download optimized profiles for Prusa Slicer, Simplify 3D, and Cura. Here's what these tests look like. Pretty small squares with areas for each setting. Here's one of the tests of temperature versus printing speed. A couple of retraction tests with different temperatures. And probably the most difficult test, the bridge test. None of these looked quite perfect in my opinion, but at least a couple that are acceptable. After running through the optimization, I printed a few before and after test prints. I used the default profiles in Simplify 3D and Cura, and for the optimized models, just whatever 3doptimizer provided me after the tests. The default Cura profile actually produced a very nice print as is. There's a strange blob by the lips. I think that's due to me printing over USB, and those are present on all of the before models. I'd say that the optimized Cura profile actually looks worse. The optimized version has some very strange layer lines on the forehead. For Simplify 3D, the optimized version actually is a little bit better. Forehead is still weird, but overall pretty good. When looking from the side though, the surface finish on the optimized prints is nowhere near as smooth. There are all sorts of inconsistencies and a weird texture. When comparing the larger layer height, 3doptimizer did a good job, apart from the struggles with the forehead again. I also tried printing the test model in vase mode, and to my surprise, it worked really good. It only really struggled with the top of the head and a couple sections under the hair. I didn't reprint the optimized versions, but more in the vase mode at the end of the video. How could I not include some time-lapse shots? Notice the artifacts from running the time-lapse, quite a lot of oozing on the left. This can be solved by increasing the retraction distance, but I've had quite a few issues because of that, as you'll see later. This is how that oozing happens. For each frame of the time-lapse, the nozzle moves out of the way and meltability just drips down. Nozzle then comes back to roughly the same spot each time and you end up with this mess. Time-lapses of 3D prints are difficult and come with reduced quality, unless you really spend the time tweaking settings, but damn are they satisfying to look at. For all of the test prints, I used the head from this model by No One In Studios. Awesome model all around, thank you for making it. Then I decided I should give Blender a go. I've seen so many bust models, sure they can make one too. I used the original model as a base, connected head to the torso, cut off the arms, and smoothed the edges. Not the hardest thing in the world, but Jesus did it take me ages. Somehow the most time-consuming thing, by far, was changing where Keanu was looking. I think I ended up using Mesh Mixer with a spherical brush to drag the head. I'm sure there's a similar tool in Blender, but I was way too lazy to properly learn it. I also spent way too much time making tweaks that you can't even see in the final print, because details are just too fine, like adding back the hair details or adding beard texture. Then there was the base. I started with a tiny model that I thought looked futuristic, or whatever. Unfortunately, I can't find the original model anymore. The plan was to just add somewhat a blocky pillar to this, and I'm sure you can see where this is going. I'm going to have to blur this footage in a second. No, Artem, what were you thinking? I kinda scrapped that. Let's just try to unsee this and move on to actual printing. Starts out pretty nicely, but results in a clogged nozzle because of all the extra retractions. Of Of course that wasn't the end of the problems. I forgot about supports, or maybe I just hoped I didn't need them. Back to Mesh Mixer, adding some custom supports, just because I thought I'd give it a go. Print finished pretty nicely. Time to see if these supports helped. They were much harder to remove than the normal supports, because there's no layer separation. It was just printed as a single model. They did barely add any print time, which is what I was aiming for. This model shouldn't need much support, just a hair bits, and they look pretty nice. Great success. I also broke the base after it was printed. Here's exactly how that happened. Yep, the print just stuck too well, and I tried hitting it to remove it, and here we are. I was using just a normal glue stick, and apparently that's too strong. But again, also pretty to look at. So Keanu bust was printed and primed and ready to be painted. Oh no. This is like the first time I painted anything. Why would you do that? Not too crazy so far. But I really don't know how to accept defeat, so I just kept going. Why would anybody do this? Fuck. I did use less transparent paint in the end, and I think I saved it a little bit, but it's still oh so horrible. This paint job is exactly why Keanu's sitting on that bench. He knew this was coming. I'm not saying I'm like proud of this, but I thought I would do worse. Of course there's still the base to paint. Place your bets right now on how that turned out. Wow, you're just breathtaking, Keanu.
You're breathtaking!
Yeah, breathtaking, that's what I said. Remember I mentioned that base mode? A real quick description of what it actually is. You can print your model with a single wall and a single uninterrupted line, gradually increasing the height. Time-lapse software really doesn't like that. Case in point. Also tried just a single wall print, not spiral, but layer after layer. That worked a bit better. Obviously not amazing though. I then printed this without time-lapse because I did kind of care about quality. There is that kind of a layer skip though. It'll do just fine though for the purposes. There were some compromises because of the base mode, but I was able to just fill in the gaps. I used some random all-purpose filler for this and it worked okay. Here it is after painting on the outside. I could have definitely done a better job sanding it and filling the gaps, but it'll do fine. I left the inside mostly untouched because I want to put it on my desk. With this. I think it's about time Keanu got a new haircut. Still not sure how my wife hasn't left it because, Jesus, that's a lot of dirt on my desk. Luckily, after my precise calculations, everything fit nicely. Kinda fit. Okay, definitely didn't fit. Come on, that's pretty good.
Wake the fuck up, samurai.
That's it. I hope I get to play this game this year.